Welcome to the Packaging Europe podcast. I'm Tim Sykes, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by another close collaborator to the podcast, packaging industry veteran, and currently executive director of ECPA, the European Co-Packers Association, but he also wears many other hats as well. Welcome to the podcast, Ton Knipscheer.
Hi, thanks Tim. Thanks for having me. And it's great. I've been a big fan of the podcast, and it's always good to actually be on one myself. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. So, Ton, I kind of doubt there's anyone in the world of packaging who doesn't already know you, but maybe you could just say a few words about your background and the various activities that you're involved in today.
I'd be happy to. So basically, I always say that I've grown up in packaging. My parents used to run packaging companies, and therefore every free weekend and free hour we had was spent on packaging works and packaging discussions. So that was how I started. I was a few moons back, let's put it this way. My parents ran a folding carton company. They ran a co-packing company, which is why I've always been involved with co-packing. And I've been in packaging since the late 80s with the Weidenhammer Packaging Group. And in that capacity, I was also responsible for the Pringles cans for 8 years in Europe. And I worked in their UK facilities in Bradford and Belgium and Holland as well for them. And since 2016, I'm an independent packaging consultant. I work with different packaging companies, preferably family-run companies. I like the structure of family-run companies, and I try to help them with business development. I'm completely material agnostic. I don't mind any material as long as it's sustainable. And all materials have a reason to exist and a reason to function. As long as the packaging is fit for purpose, then I think that's a good opportunity. So that's in a nutshell what I do. And as you rightfully said, I'm currently the executive director of the European Co-Packing Association. In my capacity, I work with all the co-packers who are members, and try to work with the co-packers who are not members yet. In Europe. So that's an interesting discussion and interesting work to start with.
Thanks, Ton. And indeed, our latest collaboration involves bringing together ECPA and Packaging Europe in the form of our respective events. So we have the Sustainable Packaging Summit and the ECPA annual conference, which will be together under the same roof in Amsterdam. ECPA conference on 11th of November. And Sustainable Packaging Summit on the 12th and 13th of November. And really, from my point of view, the aim of this is hopefully inspiring co-packers and ECPA members to engage even more in the sustainability discourse. And at the same time, getting the rest of the value chain to consider the role of contract packing and what that can play in accelerating the adoption of sustainable materials and sustainable systems. In this podcast, we're not going to be talking about the events particularly, although we will provide details at the end of how to access them and to get discounts to attend both of them. But instead of giving a preview of the event, what I'd really like to do is to discuss some of those core issues that will be on your minds on the 11th of November that are driving co-packing today. So Ton, we've seen many years of growth in private label, and more recently we've seen some big disruptions in the wider FMCG market. How does co-packing as a sector look today in the light of those sort of historic trends and experiences, and what's the kind of trajectory that you see co-packing on at the moment?
That's a very good question. I think what a short answer would be is that brand owners are realizing that they need to focus on their core business, which is actually building a brand and making sure it gets to number one and number two position in the market and gets the attention on the aisle. And this is where you see the clear trend that the big FMCGs or CPGs as the Americans call them, are focusing more and more on actually building the brand and making sure that it gets product extensions, but they're not actually so keen anymore on actually producing the product, because their agility is not something where they're renowned for. They could be very quick and adaptive with new marketing trends, but actually producing a product is not what they would like to focus on still in the future. And this is where we see where co-packers and co-manufacturers, or contract manufacturers, or third parties, as people used to call it, external manufacturing, are stepping into that void. And I think what you also mentioned before is the private label trend, which in Europe is growing dramatically, and especially now with the economic situation as it is, people are starting to realize that private labels are a good value for your money. And basically, private label production is contract manufacturing, because they fill in the voids at the aisles, and they also step into the role where brand owners have dropped the ball a bit over the last decade. So I think going back to that point, we see the trend that co-packers and co-manufacturers are getting more and more threshold, more and more market share, because the big brand owners, the big corporates, are finally realizing that they need third parties. Time to market is getting shorter. Complexity, especially legislation, is getting much more serious. We have the situation with PPWR, EPR, or curbside in the UK. This is where we see that the brand owners need to purchase that knowledge, and brand owners and our association have that knowledge and can share it with the brand owners. And last but not least, we also see the clear trend that brand owners, especially the big corporate ones, are looking again at their shareholder value, which means that they're shedding a lot of jobs and doing headcounts. And these are not necessarily in production at the moment, but they're in the so-called overhead. But this knowledge still needs to be available. They still need to have the knowledge about sustainability, about what to do best with PPWR. And I think this is where our members can help as well. They have that knowledge. They have their own R&D teams, but they are much more agile than the ones at the corporates.
And I suppose that raises an important function for ECPA as the traditional roles of packaging departments within brands and retailers may start to shrink. It requires, deeper expertise, more kind of strategic sense of the market direction, etc.
Exactly. I remember when my parents started the co-packing company many years ago. It was just a matter of repacking something which came out of a factory, which was, let's say, shrink wrapped by 6 bottles. It needed to be shrink wrapped by 4 bottles. The brand owner couldn't do it because their machines were too quick, or it was too small a volume. This is why they had it repacked at a co-packer. And now you see that. Let's just call one brand Rituals, which is the lifestyle brand, quite famous in Europe now. It's all done by co-packers and co-manufacturers. It's not done by Rituals itself. Rituals comes up with the ideas, and it's done outside. Same thing goes for a famous razor brand from the US, which is done by contract manufacturers, because the razor brand have realized that they're not necessarily so good at actually producing it. And we see this with startups as well as corporates. The startups who come up with a idea of, let's say, I'm doing a vitamin booster product. I can have the idea, I can merchandise it, but I can't really make it, or I don't have the certificates for it to make it.
Yeah. So you've outlined a number of opportunities for co-packers to continue this quite impressive growth that we've seen. Where do you see the challenges that your members need to consider and to kind of grow further expertise in if they're going to realize these market opportunities?
Well, I think a very big and recognizable challenge for our members is that our members used to be, or quite a lot of them used to be mom pop shops, as my American friends always called it. If they wouldn't pick up the phone, they would be lying underneath the machine. And this is where we see a change in the market. We see a much more mature market, but not everybody is on board with that yet. So if a smaller co-packer or contract manufacturer or private label producer for that matter starts a negotiation with a big brand owner, they get an NDA. These NDAs 45 pages. They have no clue where to look at. They'll sign at the dot. So this is something where we as an organization try to help our members and try to educate them that there are some synergies and some learnings to be made. So not to sort of accept everything that a big brand owner who does this for a living, these contracts, is automatically accepted. This is where I think one of the biggest challenges lies. And of course, as with everybody, I think the labor market in Europe is challenging, and that goes for co-packers and contract manufacturers as well. The only advantage they have is that they have a flexible ring about their around their workforce, so they can upskill and downskill a lot easier. Hiring and firing with contract manufacturers is normally a little bit less complicated than with the brand owner.
Okay, thank you. So, as I mentioned, we're bringing the ECPA conference and the Sustainable Packaging Summit together as successive events in the same venue in Amsterdam. Beautiful venue, by the way. Lovely building.
Absolutely.
And we're expecting to see some cross-pollination of the two events and the networking between their respective attendees. And in fact, Ton, you'll be speaking at the Sustainable Packaging Summit to bring up the context of co-packing within the kind of broader sustainability discussion. So I'd like to ask you, where do you see the opportunities for co-packing to address these shared broader industry environmental obligations, and what kind of dialogue do you think that co-packers and the wider value chain and FMCG sustainability people should be aiming to have?
I think it's this co-location of our two conferences is absolutely brilliant because it allows our contract manufacturers and contract packer members to actually have a dialogue on eye level with the brand owners that you are bringing in, and talk to them about that their business is here to stay and they can help out with sustainability. They have the knowledge, they have the networks, and our members also are spread around Europe, from Eastern Europe to Southeastern Europe, in the Nordics, in the Benelux and Germany. So if a customer has a need, they can find a member through our inquiry tool on the website quite easily, and then have an emergency or whatever purpose they may be looking for. Our members can help them. And I think this is where, if we can talk to the brand owners on eye level, they can also convince them that they are serious and they have the knowledge, they have the teams behind them who are ready and willing to scale.
Yeah, I guess from the other point of view, there's a lot of knowledge transfer and broader kind of appreciation of the headaches and the little creases that need to be ironed out when we think about aligning all of our practices with the needs of a strategically coherent circular economy.
Exactly, and if you look at everybody, of course, a couple of years ago stood on the stage and said we're going to be sustainable in 2025, or 2025 is only 2 months away. So some are already shifting it to 2030, which is fine, but there is a lot of things which already need to be put into place, and this is something where brand owners at the moment not necessarily have the manpower for.
Mm.
And this is why they need summits like yours and discussions with our members to be prepared for what's coming from Brussels or coming from London, by the way. And I think these kinds of events are perfect networking opportunities for people to align to make sure that they're ready when the next piece of legislation comes around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Ton, can you tell us how listeners can find out more about the ECPA conference, and indeed who should be coming to it? Is this an event that's purely for contract packers, or are people
No.
who are curious about contract packing also going to be relevant as attendees?
Yes, we've originally the idea was to have a members only discussion, but then we said, oh, if we want to open up to the world and say, okay, show them what it is we can do, we need to open up to packaging professionals. And this is what we've done, and we've seen quite a nice influx of people from outside. Also, people who are going to do some relevant presentations about recycling, about PPWR, about flexible paper, about packaging innovations trends. We see people willing to help us on that. And yes, we are open to people from within the packaging industry. Don't necessarily need to be members. And registration is as simple as you can have it. Send an email to membership@ecpacopacking.com and we'll take care of it.
So membership@ecpacopacking.com. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ton. And similarly, we would love for listeners of this event to attend both the co-packing conference and the Sustainable Packaging Summit, which is Europe's leading packaging sustainability event. And we're really driven by a mission to really create impact through honest discussions between stakeholders and focus on the strategic challenges and innovation opportunities. And that will also be including the Sustainability Awards ceremony and dinner and a number of co-located events and workshops and private member meetings that hopefully really gives us a critical mass of packaging and sustainability professionals. So ECPA conference is taking place on 11th of November in Amsterdam. Sustainable Packaging Summit is on the 12th and 13th. And I can offer listeners an exclusive 10% discount on the Sustainable Packaging Summit if you use the code PEPOD10 at checkout. You can find details of that on the Packaging Europe website. For now, thanks so much, Ton, for taking the time to speak with us, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Amsterdam and talking to your co-packing members and all the other attendees who are joining your event. And I think I've got a lot to learn about this opportunity myself.
A lot will be joining your conference as well. They will be staying on for a few days. I know. I've had that confirmed by quite a few of our members.
That's great.
That looks to be good.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Ton. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. Goodbye.